Ambassador Aaron Holt had visited the Galactic Council dozens of times, but nothing in his diplomatic career felt as wrong as the silence that greeted him now. The Council spire, normally a symphony of voices, hovering drones, and restless political currents, stood eerily still as he walked the crystalline corridor toward the chamber. No aides escorted him. No delegates acknowledged him. Every alien he passed watched him with unreadable expressions, as if he were already a condemned man. Holt slowed near the chamber gates. Columns of pale blue flame crawled up their edges, flickering like warning signals. The entrance guards, armored Zelth Dominion soldiers, crossed their halberds without a word. One hissed, "Proceed, human!" Inside, the council chamber stretched like a cathedral of glass and steel, tiers rising around a central platform where judgment was delivered. Banners of 100 species hung overhead. The light filtering through the vaulted ceiling painted the space in fractured color, but somehow the air felt cold. Holt stepped onto the platform. "Ambassador Holt," a council drone announced, "you stand accused of subversion against collective peace. The council convenes to declare your judgment." He frowned. "I stand accused of what? There was no summons. No evidence packet. This violates protocol." The drone ignored him. Figures shifted in the shadows of their arcs. Some avoided his eyes, others watched with malicious curiosity. Only one sat forward, Archon Vusker of the Zelth Dominion, the most influential voice in the chamber, and the council's perpetual warmonger. The Archon rose, towering above the platform. "Humanity has tested our patience long enough. Expansion without permission. Military buildup disguised as defense. Disregard for council decrees. And now sabotage in the neutral zones." "That's a lie," Holt replied sharply. "Humanity followed every treaty. If sabotage occurred, show your proof." Vusker's mandibles curled in a smile. "Proof is not required. Fear of what your kind may become is justification enough." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Holt saw a few delegates stiffen, startled by the open dismissal of due process. He seized the moment. "Archon, the Council exists to prevent abuses of power. If you condemn species based on fear, then no one here is safe." Vusker's eyes gleamed. "Precisely why humanity must be broken." Holt opened his mouth to protest, but the chamber lights dimmed abruptly. The floor beneath him shifted. Circular patterns ignited, glowing molten orange. The drone hovered higher and announced, with chilling finality, "Sentencing purification." Holt froze. Purification was not a legal term, it was a ritual, an archaic punishment abandoned centuries ago. Or so humanity had believed. "This is unlawful!" Holt shouted. "You cannot pass a sentence without trial." His words died as bindings shot from the platform, locking around his wrists and ankles. Zel's soldiers stepped forward, their armor reflecting the growing heat. Vusker spread his arms. "Humanity's arrogance ends today. Let the galaxy witness what happens when a fledgling species forgets its place." Panels along the platform slid open, revealing plasma conduits shaped like curved petals. A low hum built beneath Holt's feet. Heat licked the air, rising in waves. He struggled against the restraints, but they tightened. "Vusker," Holt said quietly, "you're making a mistake that will echo for centuries." "No," Vusker whispered. "I'm ensuring mine are remembered as the ones who tamed humanity before it consumed us all." The conduits flared. Plasma fire erupted upward, engulfing the ambassador in blinding white heat. Holt gasped as the flames swallowed him. For a moment, his silhouette flickered, thin, trembling, but unbowed. He looked directly at the central camera drone, knowing billions would see this. "Humanity," he choked, voice cracking under the inferno, "will remember." The flames surged higher, then vanished into silence. Only ash drifted onto the glowing platform. Vusker turned toward the broadcasting array. "Transmit the message to all inhabited sectors." The chamber remained silent. Not one delegate dared move. Across the galaxy, the footage hit Earth like a shockwave. In New Geneva, crowds gathered before the towering public holoscreens. When Holt's final scream cut through the feed, people recoiled. Some cried. Others stood frozen. A hush fell over the city, then shattered into an uproar of rage. On Luna, miners dropped their tools in disbelief. On Mars, universities halted entire lectures as the video played. In orbital stations, engineers slammed fists against railings, demanding retribution. Humanity did not simply mourn. It awakened. In the Terra Command Citadel, alarms blared as senior leaders rushed into the war room. Tactical maps flickered across the walls. Admiral Lyra Kane entered last, eyes focused, shoulders squared. "What's confirmed?" she asked. Director Salvan turned from the central display. "The execution was deliberate. No legal grounds. No summoning procedures. Vusker orchestrated the entire event." Lyra studied the footage playing silently in the corner. Holt engulfed in flame, just seconds from death, holding on to a dignity most beings could never muster. Her fingers curled into fists. "This cannot go unanswered," General Herod growled. "We deploy the Titan fleet." "And start a war?" another counselor interrupted. "We must request a council investigation." Lyra stepped forward. "They won't investigate. They wanted us humiliated. If they're willing to kill a diplomat on live broadcast, they'll target our colonies next." The counselor shook his head. "We cannot risk extinction." Lyra's voice dropped, steady and controlled. "Extinction becomes certain the moment we show weakness." The room went quiet. She continued. "Holt wasn't executed for a crime. He was executed because humanity is no longer convenient to control. Vusker wants a galaxy where humans kneel or vanish. And he expects us to hesitate." General Herod nodded slowly. "She's right. They're testing whether we'll fight back." Salvan added. "And if we don't, the Council will treat us as prey." Lyra turned toward the senior leadership table. "We respond with unity, precision, and strength. Not chaos. We declare humanity sovereign, withdraw from Council authority, and prepare defensive mobilization." Herod leaned forward. "An offensive capacity, Admiral?" Lyra met his eyes. "If they strike again, we make sure they regret the day they saw us as lesser." A hush settled. Slowly, each leader raised their hand in assent. The vote was unanimous. "Activate the Total Strategic Retaliation Protocol," Salvan said, voice heavy but firm. "For the first time in human history." Lyra exhaled, steadying herself. Holt's final words echoed through her mind, burning brighter than the flames that took him. "Humanity will remember." She looked at the star map, now glowing with hostile Council territories. "We begin preparations immediately," she said. "For every life they take, we take back a star." And the war for humanity's future began. Admiral Lyra Kane didn't sleep the night after Holt's execution. She couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the council chambers glow, the rising flames, and Holt's final, unbroken stare. By dawn, she stood alone on the viewing deck of the Terra Command Citadel, watching Earth's sunrise sweep across the horizon. Below her, the planet shimmered with thousands of lights flickering awake. Cities, ports, orbital elevators, all alive with sudden purpose. Humanity moved with a unity she had never seen, as if every person had silently agreed that the galaxy would never again be allowed to treat them as expendable. A soft chime sounded behind her. "Admiral," said Commander Jace Wren, her executive officer, "the assembly is convened. They're waiting on you." Lyra nodded and walked toward the lift, her steps sharp and controlled. The lift dropped smoothly to the war room, opening to a flurry of coordinated activity. Officers distributed encrypted data slates, screens displayed troop readiness, and strategic analysts reported colony responses across the system. Director Salvan stood at the head of the table. "Admiral Kane," he said, "you'll brief us first." Lyra approached the projection interface. A star map expanded, highlighting a pattern of Council outposts encircling human territory. "Our vulnerability is not location," she began. "It's hesitation. If we move slowly, the Council will strike first and cripple us before we can secure our borders." Counselor Nadir hesitated. Are we certain they plan open conflict? Lyra tapped a sequence on the interface. Dozens of intercepted alien transmissions appeared above the table, calls for containment measures, preemptive strikes, and mentions of the human threat multiplied by defiance. Vusker is pushing them toward war, she said. If we wait for their fleets to form, we lose the advantage. General Herod grunted. So what's your plan? Lyra enlarged 3 border systems, Vexter 9, Luskin Ridge, and Seraph Gate, Council observation zones positioned dangerously close to human colonization routes. These stations monitor our slipstream activity. Disable them, and half the Council's strategic awareness collapses. They'll be blind to fleet movements across the outer sectors. Nadir frowned. You're proposing a coordinated assault? No civilian casualties, Lyra replied. We target infrastructure only. Show them efficiency, not desperation. Sylvan studied her closely. You're certain we're ready? Lyra didn't blink. We've been ready for years. Humanity built defenses for threats we hoped we'd never meet. Now we have. Herod smirked. Then let's wake the war machine. The Citadel's command base stirred like a giant coming to life. Machines hummed as dormant systems activated. Atmospheric shields glowed faintly while massive data conduits cycled combat algorithms. Lyra walked through the operations floor with Jace at her side. Engineers sprinted between terminals, tactical officers locked in simulations, and communications specialists synchronized fleet channels across the system. Jace exhaled as he scanned the displays. Feels unreal. One day we're negotiating for trade routes, the next we're preparing for war. Lyra kept her gaze forward. War wasn't our choice. But survival always is. You think Vusker expected this kind of response? No, Lyra said. He thinks humans fracture easily. He doesn't understand what happens when we're pushed past the brink. Jace nodded slowly. Then he's about to learn. By midday, the Titan-class warships, humanity's largest and most carefully guarded assets, emerged from their orbital docks like awakened giants. Their metallic hulls shimmered under sunlight, each vessel armed with plasma lances, kinetic accelerators, and gravity well projectors designed for system-wide engagements. Crowds gathered on bridges and balconies across Earth's cities, watching the enormous silhouettes rise into formation. Children pointed upward with awe. Veterans saluted. Civilians whispered silent promises of vengeance and protection. On Luna, factories shifted instantly into wartime output. Conveyor belts thundered as exosuits, drone swarms, pulse cannon arrays, and nanoscale armor plating rolled off assembly lines. Mars followed minutes later, its terraformed facilities generating the alloys required for deep space hull reinforcement. Humanity was no longer preparing. Humanity was mobilizing. In the tactical briefing hall, Lyra addressed her strike commanders. The lights dimmed as the star map reappeared. Our first objective is to prevent the Council from coordinating, she said. Teams Alpha, Sigma, and Orion will neutralize the border stations simultaneously. Expect automated defenses and limited garrisons. Avoid prolonged engagements. Commander Hale from Alpha Team asked. Rules of engagement? Non-lethal unless fired upon, Lyra answered. We prove our strength without stooping to their cruelty. Another commander leaned forward. And after the stations fall? We hold position until further orders, Lyra replied. No escalation until we assess the Council's response. Hale nodded. They won't take this quietly. No, Lyra agreed. But they'll take it seriously. Meanwhile, the galaxy beyond human borders churned with unrest. On the Council world of Kralin, merchants packed their stalls, whispering rumors of human retaliation. In diplomatic enclaves, envoys argued whether the execution had been staged by Vusker alone or sanctioned behind closed doors. Some species feared humans had been pushed too far, others insisted humanity deserved subjugation. Vusker watched all of it with calculated interest. From his command dais on Aurelian Prime, he observed the panic spreading through lesser Council races. They tremble, he said to his advisors. Good. Fear makes obedience effortless. One advisor shifted uneasily. Archon, their fear is not of us. It is of humanity. Vusker's eyes narrowed. They will fall in line once they see our response. The humans will lash out blindly. And when they do, we strike their heart. He never imagined humanity would strike first, calmly, precisely, and without hesitation. Lyra stood on the bridge of her flagship, TAS Valiant, as the fleet prepared for departure. The vessel hummed with restrained power, its systems synchronized with thousands of smaller escort ships surrounding it like a metallic constellation. Jace approached with the final readiness report. All teams in position. Slipstream node stable. Fleet synchronization complete. Lyra nodded and activated the interfleet channel. The voices of hundreds of officers stilled instantly. This is Admiral Kane, she said. You all know why we stand here. The Council believes fear will break us. They think we'll retreat, negotiate, or plead for mercy. They're wrong. The bridge remained silent, but the tension was electric. We act not out of hate, she continued, but necessity. Humanity will not kneel. Not now. Not ever. Today we show the galaxy who we truly are. She lowered her hand. Begin the operation. The fleet streaked into slipstream, vanishing into arcs of blue light. Energy rippled across the void as one of the largest coordinated military actions in human history commenced. Within minutes, the first Council monitoring station detected the disturbance, moments before its sensors went dark. Across the system, alarms blared. Across humanity, hope ignited. And across the galaxy, the balance of power shifted. The first strike unfolded with surgical precision. 3 Council outposts, Vector 9, Luskan Ridge, and Seraph Gate, fell into darkness within minutes of the human fleet's arrival. Power grids flickered out, sensor arrays died, and local commanders scrambled to understand why their systems were collapsing before a single shot hit them. Admiral Lyra Kane watched the synchronized operation from the bridge of the Valiant. The holographic map updated in real time as each station went offline. Alpha Team reports Vector 9 secure, Jace announced. Minimal resistance. All personnel detained peacefully. Good, Lyra said. Council propaganda will paint us as savages. Let's deny them the fuel. Sigma teams soon checked in as well. Luskan Ridge had surrendered without firing a shot. Only Orion team encountered real pushback, but even that lasted less than 6 minutes. Human boarding units overwhelmed the outpost's defenses with speed and discipline. Lyra nodded approvingly. Transmit humanitarian protocols. Provide medical assistance where needed. Document everything. Jace gave her a small smile. You're building a different kind of war, Admiral. No, she replied quietly. A controlled one. If the galaxy burns, it won't be because we lost focus. Far from human-controlled space, the Wolves of Terra, the elite Special Operations Division, prepared for their next assignment. On board the drop cruiser Vanguard, Commander Ash Rourke checked the seals on her exosuit. The reinforced plating gleamed under the cabin lights. Her squad waited in silence, weapons magnetized to gauntlets, helmets tucked under their arms. No bravado. No speeches. Wolves didn't need noise to show they were ready. Ash glanced at her second-in-command, Lauren Vex, a former miner from Luna turned soldier. Nervous? She asked. He snorted. Of you? Always. She smirked. Good. Keeps you sharp. Their target was simple, seize command of Outpost Sijora, a Zelf military relay controlling encrypted Council fleet routes. The assault was designed not to destroy it but to capture its data. The wolves strapped in as the cruiser tilted towards slipstream entry. Over the comm, Lyra's voice came through, steady as polished steel. Wolves, your objective is intelligence retrieval. No unnecessary damage. Move fast. Return faster. Ash responded. Understood, Admiral. We'll deliver. The slipstream swallowed the Vanguard in a swirl of shifting blue. When the wolves emerged over Sijora, The outpost's defenses activated instantly. Anti-ship cannons lit the void with plasma bolts, forcing the cruiser to juke violently. "Hostile greeting," Lauren muttered. "Not for long," Ash said. "Deploy." The drop bay opened, and the wolves launched in a coordinated burst, armored figures streaking toward the outposts like falling stars. Microthrusters fired, guiding their descent. They landed on the hull with seismic precision. Ash gave the command. "Cut in!" Thermal blades sliced through plating, opening a narrow breach. One by one, the wolves slipped inside, moving like shadows down a dim corridor alive with alarms. A Zelth officer rounded a corner and froze at the sight of them. Ash raised her rifle but didn't fire. "We're not here to slaughter you," she said. "Stand down." The officer hesitated, assessing 20 armored humans in a tight formation. His mandibles clicked uncertainly before he dropped his weapon. "Smart," Lauren whispered. The wolves advanced to the command nexus. Ash connected her wrist module to the central terminal. Data flowed instantly, fleet routes, encrypted transmissions, and internal council memos revealing panic after the capture of the earlier outposts. She skimmed the files, her pulse quickening. "Admiral Kane needs this," Ash said. "Now." They extracted cleanly, with no casualties on either side. The return of the wolves' data changed everything. On the Valiant's bridge, Lyra stood stiffly as transmissions from Vusker's faction scrolled across the screen. One message, encoded with high-level clearance, made her jaw tighten. "Jace," she said, "pull this up." The decrypted file displayed a plan labeled SUNBREKR, a star destabilization weapon built in secret by the Council's military arm. Its purpose was clear. Target: human colony Dahold. Objective: demonstrate consequences of human insubordination. Lyra felt the temperature in the room drop. "When was this authorized?" Jace checked the metadata. 3 weeks before Holt's hearing. "So they planned annihilation before the execution," she murmured. "Vusker never wanted diplomacy. He wanted erasure." Before she could issue a command, a new alert flashed crimson, a remote feed, shaking violently and distorted by radiation. "Admiral," Jace whispered. "It's Dahold." The transmission stabilized just long enough to show the colony's star swelling unnaturally, its surface writhing with energy. The image flared white, then vanished. Silence filled the bridge. A junior officer stepped forward, voice trembling. "All life signs gone." Lyra closed her eyes. The weight of the moment pressed on her chest. She gripped the railing until her knuckles whitened. "Vusker will answer for this," Jace said quietly. "Yes," Lyra replied, her voice low and steady. "But anger alone won't win us this war." She turned to her senior strategists. "We find the Sunbreaker array. We dismantle it. Then we take the capital." The news spread rapidly. Humanity mourned, but the grief turned almost instantly into sharpened purpose. Entire cities volunteered resources. Colonies pledged troops. The wolves demanded frontline placement. Even rival political parties unified under a single demand: remove Vusker from power permanently. Lyra convened her inner circle in the Valiant's tactical chamber. "Operation Black Sun," she announced. 3 objectives: disable the Council's deep space relays, sever their command structure, and overload the Sunbreaker grid. Jace raised an eyebrow. "All simultaneously?" "Yes," Lyra said. "If even one remains active, they'll retaliate before we strike the capital." Ash appeared via hologram from her cruiser. "My wolves can infiltrate the relay moons." Herod, patched in from Earth, added, "Colonial fleets will hit the supply corridors as distraction." Lyra studied the plan. Every piece fit. Every action supported the next. There was no room for error, but there was also no alternative. "Execute," she said. Hours later, Operation Black Sun ignited across the galaxy. Relay networks flickered out. Data streams collapsed. The Sunbreaker grid sputtered as human saboteurs severed its conduits. Council commanders found themselves isolated, blind, and unable to coordinate. Panic rippled through the ranks of species that once believed themselves superior. On Aurelian Prime, Vusker watched reports vanish from his screens one after another. His composure cracked for the first time. "This is impossible," he snarled. "Humans cannot operate on this scale." An advisor swallowed nervously. "Archon, they already have." Vusker slammed a claw into the console. "Prepare the armada. We march on Earth." But the command never left the capital. Slipstream signatures appeared above Aurelian Prime, massive, steady, deliberate. The Titan fleet had arrived. Lyra stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the glowing world ahead. "Jace," she said softly. "Signal the fleet." He nodded. "Message?" Lyra straightened. "Begin final approach." Aurelian Prime glowed beneath the Valiant like a jeweled sphere, city lights shimmering across its continents, defense towers piercing the clouds, orbital docks circling it like metallic rings. Once, it had been the center of diplomacy, law, and interstellar unity. Now it stood exposed, its communication grid crippled, its fleet scattered, its leadership scrambling in disbelief. Admiral Lyra Kane stared at it through the command viewport. The Titan fleet held formation behind her flagship, a massive array of vessels aligned in flawless precision. Energy cores pulsed with restrained power. "Fleet status?" Lyra asked. Jace scanned the readings. "All ships synchronized. Weapons on standby. No Council reinforcements detected." "They're disorganized," Lyra said. "That gives us a window, small, but enough." A tactical officer spoke up. "Archon Vusker's flagship, the Dominion Spear, is rising from the surface. Its engines are unstable." Lyra nodded once. "He's coming to fight." "Good. This ends face to face." The Dominion Spear burst from the atmosphere, engines trailing molten light. Its hull, etched with Zelth battle runes, bristled with cannons. Even damaged from the energy cascade that crippled the Council grid, it remained a formidable warship. Vusker's voice cracked over open channels, fury dripping from every syllable. "Humans! You dare assault the heart of civilization? Withdraw or be annihilated!" Lyra answered calmly. "You lost the right to speak of civilization the moment you murdered our envoy." Vusker's reply was a hiss. "Humanity needed a lesson. And now you will learn ours." The Dominion Spear fired first. Plasma lances streaked toward the Valiant, but the flagship's shields absorbed the impact with a deep, resonant thrum. Lyra didn't flinch. "Return fire. Controlled volleys. Disable, not destroy." The Valiant unleashed a spread of kinetic rounds that hammered into the spear's hull, breaking through its forward plates. The massive vessel reeled, flames curling from its side. Yet Vusker persisted. "Cowards! Fight to kill!" "No," Lyra said. "We fight to end this." She ordered the fleet forward. Human ships surged like a tide, frigates weaving between bursts of enemy fire, cruisers locking onto defense towers, strike wings cutting through Council interceptors with disciplined formation. The Council's capital defenses struggled to respond. Without their central network, weapon platforms operated independently, firing sporadically and often at cross purposes. Human coordination overwhelmed them. Jace watched the unfolding battle. "They're falling apart faster than expected." "They relied on fear, not loyalty," Lyra replied. "Once fear breaks, everything collapses." On the battlefield's edge, the Wolves of Terra dropped onto specific orbital stations that were still active. Commander Ash Rourke's squad breached a tower controlling surface-to-orbit artillery. As alarms blared, Ash led her unit down a spiraling corridor, movements sharp and efficient. Zelth troops attempted to regroup but faltered under the Wolves' precision. A soldier cried out in panic. "Stand firm! They're few!" Ash caught his weapon with her gauntlet, and disarmed him in one swift motion. "We don't want your deaths," she said. "Surrender and you live." Her sincerity broke something in them. Blasters clattered to the floor. The Wolves moved onward and secured the tower, turning the guns harmlessly toward the empty void. Back above the planet, the Dominion Spear lurched forward on failing thrusters. Vusker activated his final contingency, a self-destruct sequence capable of vaporizing everything within a 100-kilometer radius, including sections of Aurelian Prime. Lyra recognized the signature spike instantly. Jace. He's preparing a core detonation. Jace paled. It'll kill millions on the surface. Bridge, target his reactor, Lyra commanded. We stop that detonation at any cost. The Valiant's main cannon charged, a deep hum vibrating through the hull. But before firing, Lyra opened a direct channel. Vusker, she said, if you trigger that device, you'll be remembered not as an Archon, but as a butcher. Vusker bared his fangs. History is written by those who survive. Then survive this, Lyra replied. Stand down. His answer was manic laughter. Humanity thinks it won? You have no idea. The Valiant fired. A focused kinetic beam struck the spear's reactor conduit with pinpoint accuracy. Instead of detonating, the overload was redirected, shutting down the core. Power bled from the alien flagship as it drifted helplessly. Vusker staggered as the lights dimmed. Impossible! No human has ever. Lyra appeared on his bridge through a holographic link. You underestimated us from the beginning. Her boarding teams arrived moments later, surrounding Vusker without firing a single shot. He snarled but couldn't move, restraint fields locked around his limbs. Justice, Lyra said, isn't cruelty. It's accountability. Vusker spat. Execute me then. No, Lyra answered. That's your method, not ours. He froze, stunned by the refusal. You will stand trial, she continued, before the same galaxy you tried to deceive. Hours later, the battle ended. Aurelian Prime's remaining defenses surrendered once the Dominion spear fell. Human medics spread across captured platforms, treating wounded enemy soldiers with the same care as their own. The contrast between humanity's conduct and the Council's brutality became impossible for any species to ignore. Delegates, long silent under Vusker's influence, emerged from hiding. Their fear had shifted, not toward humanity, but toward the tyranny they had enabled. A temporary tribunal convened in the shattered council chamber. Vusker, bound yet unbroken, stood where Holt had once stood, though under very different circumstances. Lyra watched from the observation level, her expression unreadable. A Zelth representative addressed the assembly. We were complicit by silence. Today we rebuild trust, beginning with truth. Evidence of Vusker's schemes filled the chamber: Sunbreaker plans, secret directives, recordings of manipulated votes. Species that had once followed him now denounced him. The verdict came swiftly: removal from power and imprisonment on a secure neutral world. Vusker glared at Lyra as he was escorted away. Humanity will consume everything, he snarled. This victory changes nothing. Lyra met his gaze calmly. It changes everything. In the days that followed, recovery began on Aurelian Prime. Human engineers restored damaged systems. Delegates drafted a new interspecies accord built on balanced representation, transparent governance, and mutual accountability. For the first time in centuries, the council chamber glowed with genuine hope. A memorial was erected in the plaza outside, a simple crystalline column engraved with the names of those who died, including Ambassador Holt. Lyra approached it alone at dusk, placing Holt's insignia at its base. Jace joined her quietly. He would have been proud, Admiral. Lyra nodded. He deserved a galaxy that valued peace. And now it might have one. She studied the stars above, their light sharp against the darkening sky. We didn't start this war, she said. But we shaped what comes after. Where does humanity go from here? Jace asked. Lyra looked toward the horizon, where the rebuilt council emblem shimmered in the fading light. Forward, she said. Always forward.